Yeah, let's go. Shout out to Mountain and Fitch. I got Iggy and Woods doing right for the culture. If you just here for the views and the likes and just put on the mic, you a vulture. They let me down, but the raps did it. They let me down, but the switch did it. They let me down, but the raps did it. They let me down, but the switch did it.
This is your boy Iggy.
It's your boy Woods.
You are now tuned in to another episode of Hip Hop Hoops Podcast. Listen, I want to shout out our sponsors.
Yes.
Sponsors, Pizza-ish.
Yes, sir.
Listen, if you're looking for that nice fusion, Jamaican, they got the oxtails.
That Caribbean world
yes.
fuses with the pizza world.
Listen, man.
Come on, it slaps different.
Go get you some pizza. They are located at 27 Ruth Ave in Brampton.
Yes.
And we got to shout out our other sponsor.
Ashe, baby.
Ashe. Not Ace. Ashe Juicery. Yes.
Yes.
You want to get on your healthy tip, man? Drink some juice.
I need some of that ITEL juice, man. You know what I mean? No more kids, though, but you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And listen, go visit us at our website. You can get all the merch, all that nice stuff that'll update you on where we're going to be, if we're in events, anywhere. It's at www.hhhoops.com. We got everything there.
Yes.
And we got to shout out Title League, man.
Come on,
shout out
Title League, baby. Emoji fingers all day.
But we got this special guest with us today.
Real special.
Yes. Give it up for Chris Smallings in the building. Let's get it.
Triple OG in the building.
Hey. Let's go. So, you came all the way to the east, from the east end to the west. Church hours.
Yo.
Man, appreciate
listen, we appreciate you showing up here, man. That means a lot because when we tell people where we're at, especially in the East, they don't.
Nah, you gotta come up here.
Can we meet somewhere else? So we really, really appreciate that. But we want to start off with obviously we know who you are, but we want you to tell the people like who you are. So just let the audience know like who you are, what you got, what you do.
Yeah, for sure. First of all, man, I'm grateful. I feel blessed to be a part of what you guys are doing beyond this platform.
It means a lot.
Thank you.
Yeah, and every time we get love in the ends, we always appreciate it.
Hey.
Because basketball in Toronto, you know what I mean? The ends don't get as much love as we think we should. And so, coming down here, my journey, man, I'm from Scarborough. Grew up in G-Way, feel blessed to be a part of that community. I was raised by that community. I always have to shout out greatest parents in the world, man. Clifton and Mavis Smalling. And I've got 5 brothers that raised me. I'm the 4th, and so everything I am is a journey of that, and growing up early in Galloway, my journey is similar. I came from Jamaica, came to Scarborough, the famous Kingston and Galloway gym, grew up at, and it taught me early to give back. Growing up, we didn't have a lot. I remember it was $20 to play for the Galloway Lancers, and I finally built up enough courage to talk to my dad. It cost $20, and then he sat me down and he mentioned Nabil Farms and how much groceries that would buy him by the end.
Nabil Farms. Shout out Nabil Farms.
If you got that cart, that black bucket, you
you
got one of those.
Man. When he was done telling me, I felt like I should give him money.
Right.
And so, but again, it taught me about really giving back. Played ball at West Hill. With legends like Leroy and Delroy Williams back in the day, Sean Johnson, we have Marv,
Shout out Marv.
Yeah. Alex Beeson, and guys like that. So, so that's where we started out, and coming up. And then I was able to coach at West Hill, Nate Skinner, Javon Shepard, Javal Miles, Dwayne Smith, all those guys, and then I went to Pickering High School. Legendary Ron Parfit, DJ, you know what I mean? DeVoe, Corey, Haruna, something like all those guys. So I've always been a part of the fabric. And then I started Advantage Basketball.
Got you.
You know what I mean? Advantage Basketball transitioned to guys like Eugene and people like that. But the pride of Advantage was our girl side. You know what I mean? We've, out of the 8 to 10 girls on our team, at least 6 to 8 of them would get scholarships every year.
Crazy.
You know what I mean? So
Mm.
my journey, has been extensive. But again, I feel blessed to be a part of this basketball community.
And now you're at Jay Addison now. How was that thing going with Jay Addison?
Man, Jay Addison's great. I got there because of my boy YC.
Yes.
Shout out to Chris
We gotta
Francis.
shout him
Yes.
out for sure.
Real one.
Yes, sir.
I was coaching Centennial College, and then afterwards, he called me over. He said, "We want to start a boys program." First thing I said was, is it an academic school? Because everywhere you go, there's a prep school.
Right.
And what I always say to people, there's so many prep schools. If I take off my shoes right now, wind down the window and throw it outside, I'm going to hit a prep school. You know what I mean?
No, real
Prep
talk.
schools are everywhere.
They're everywhere now.
So in order for me to be a part of it, I needed to know that I can go to parents and say, it's an academic school.
Mhm.
This is what we can do for your kids. So I got to Jay Addison and we did well. Even last year, we were ranked top 3 in the entire country. What's special about that, it's an international school. So it allows us to have kids all over the world. For the last 2 years, I've been in Senegal, gone over to the Ball League, NBA Academy, Seed Academy.
Right.
We've partnered with 6 or 7 different academies over there. And then we branched off to different places in Africa. So it's all around the world. I tried to get some love in Yad, but the ball caliber wasn't there yet, but they're building now,
Right.
and so we're trying to give opportunities to kids that don't have these opportunities, to get here, to change their lives. And so we've been successful. Ibrahima Sacco, that went to Georgia Tech, now he's at New Mexico, is a part of that. And we've had a bunch of other guys as well too, OC, Baraka, guys like that that's been a part of that. So, we're grateful. And us and Crestwood probably have had the most success in girls ball, maybe over the last 6 or 7 years. So,
Crestwood's been really
it's
good.
changing lives, to be honest.
Yes.
So I got to put you on the spot here with this, man, because they like you said, when we put out a top 5 Scarborough players, right? And a lot of the people from Scarborough said we got it wrong. so I can't remember exactly who I put in my top 5.
Right.
I think I've had Ducky Rowan Barrett in there.
Mhm.
But I didn't put guys like Damian Reed. I didn't not Carpenter, not Andrew Carpenter, Mullings. I thought he was from like Durham. So if you can give us a top 5 Scarborough players of all time, I know it's on the spot, but we need it. We need to hear from you so we can put this out and we won't get in trouble anymore from the East End
Man,
guys.
see, and that becomes tough because if you're doing that, for me, generations matter.
Yeah.
Right.
You know what I mean? So it's difficult because, I'm coming from a point where, so Ducky and I went to the same school at West Hill.
What's up?
So Ducky has to be there.
Okay,
You know what I
I got
mean?
one right.
Right. And so, but then I'm gonna go back and put in a guy like Delroy Williams that people don't talk about.
Right.
You know what I mean? So again, going back from those times, you know, um, a man said you got to give Kelly Olynyk some love because he played for the Blues.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Oh,
So
man.
Right.
my
Kelly
thing is,
Olynyk.
did you play in Scarborough or did you live in Scarborough?
Right.
You gotta live there.
You know what I mean?
Because Denham played at West Hill.
Correct.
Either way you want to do it, because we can take away Denham from
This guy's gonna
Finch.
say he's not from Falstaff, bro.
So,
Cut it out.
he's
Shout
from
out Denham
Falstaff?
Brown. No, he's not from Falstaff. He lived there. He lived there for a sec.
Okay.
But he,
Yeah,
you know,
so Denham came to the ends.
Yes,
you know
he
what I
did.
mean? And so we've got to give some love
Mhm.
to Denham, but he wouldn't be in my Scarborough list.
So you got
know,
two. You got
either
Ducky and Delroy Williams.
Ducky and Delroy Williams. Mullins got to get some love
Mm,
as well too.
yeah.
Um,
Daniel Mullins is tough.
tough.
Yeah.
then I'm gonna give you another guy that people won't know or talk about as much. Sean Johnson.
John Johnson.
Played at the Hill, even had Michigan and people like that were recruiting him.
Oh, so he was a real
back
one.
in the days as well. There's a guy that went to Leacock named Emil, passed away years ago. Was supposed to go to Syracuse.
Right.
So I'm probably gonna give more love to the old heads like that. So
Fair
you know,
enough.
those
It's coming from a Scarborough native, so
Yeah,
fair
yeah.
enough. I'm
you know
okay
what I
with
mean.
that.
So I'm gonna give that kind of love to the guys from Scarborough, and then I have to give Shep.
Mm,
Yup.
Based on what Shep has accomplished,
yeah.
Shep's always gonna get love.
Yeah.
Because we're there on AU events, when every school was coming, and Shep going to Michigan, playing under Tommy Amaker,
Yeah,
playing on the Olympic team, playing overseas,
for many
now
years.
Get
broadcasting.
it,
Like
man.
Shep's got to get a lot of love as well
Right.
too. So, those would be my guys that I would just
That's a
love
That's
good
a
to.
list.
dope.
That's
That's
an
a dope
amazing
list right
list,
there.
man. So we want to get into the tournament, man. The biggest tournament. You got the shirt on. The
Yeah.
Chris Mullins girls basketball tournament. This is the 17th year
Yeah.
that you've been doing this. Let's talk about it, man, how it started. Let's talk about, all the alums that played in it. Let's talk about this whole thing, man. This tournament here.
So I'd have to go back. When we first started it, we were messing around in 2007 about getting the idea out and getting feelers out. And then we decided in the beginning it was called the Centennial Coach Classic.
Mm,
I was coaching at Centennial at the time. The girls program had just started back. And I told them, like, let's get a tournament out, get girls in here, we can recruit from it. So they said, yeah, Centennial Coach. We outgrew it and went to York University. Then
mm,
we called it the York University Classic. And then
gotcha.
we're like, guys, we can't just keep going around
Changing the
changing
name.
wherever we go. 'cause
Changing the
we
name.
want a name that identifies,
Right.
people can identify with. And so the guys I work with, Scotty, shout out to Scotty,
Yeah.
maybe the biggest in girls basketball in this country in terms of helping people. And then Mike, from Crown Scouts. And they said, listen, you start this tournament, let's name it Chris Smalling. I was like, nah, definitely not. Definitely not. I don't want people to think I'm out here with a big head, just trying
Right.
to. And I said, let's name it Crown. And they said, we can't do that. Let's name it. And took me a year. Finally, I said, all right, let's name it the Chris Smalling Tournament. And it's weird because I've been down in the States a few times on visits with my guys. I got recruited. And then when I said Chris Smalling, the girls' coaches, I was like, oh, we came to your
The
tournament.
Mm.
And Tara Vandermeer, which was she's the winningest coach in NCAA history at Stanford. I was at
Mm,
Nike Coaching Clinic and I introduced her. She said, I was at your tournament, or Gino, or people like that.
Yeah.
So
Mhm.
it worked from a standpoint that they can identify with. And as I said,
mm,
everything that we do is really not about us. It's how we can help others, And so girls ball, and I always say this, listen, we've been a part of this before Caitlin Clark came along.
yeah.
We've been doing this for a long time.
Mhm.
We love Caitlin and what she's done for the game, but we've been doing this way before that.
Right.
And so we started out because we're going down with our AAU teams to Boo Williams and other US tournaments
In
so
Virginia.
that they can see, correct, they can
Right.
see D1 coaches in attendance. And then once we started out, first couple of years, we probably had 20 to 30 D1 schools up. And we're like, man, and then
Mm,
we didn't want to leave U Sport out, show love to the Canadian school as
for
well,
sure.
too.
Right.
So we started out, we're doing well. And then our first champions was Eastern Commerce with Kareem, coaching, and they won back-to-back
How about
offsets.
Kareem, man?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
at that time, Hamilton was just killing everybody.
Right.
So they came along, they won. Our first MVP was Liana,
Shout out
Oh,
Leanna. Yeah.
and
Shout out Liana.
Janae.
Mhm.
Denham's cousin as
Janae.
well,
Right.
too.
Yup,
Correct.
yup,
So
yup.
they were our first MVPs, first champions,
Wow.
and so when I look at where they are today and what they've done and what Kareem has done in this space in Liana, we feel proud that we had a platform there. And as we continued, Pope John Paul, Scarborough, they won the second one with
Mm,
my daughter, Shanice, winning MVP of that, going to the University of Texas,
wow.
to play ball. And so we've continued to grow. We've had people that's come true, like Bridget Carlton, came through with her Chatham team. Now she's and today will be game 5.
Game
They're
5,
playing
man.
for the championship.
Crazy.
Hopefully
you
Minnesota
know,
gets that for real.
Correct. One year we had about 100 D1 schools that came out.
That's
You
wild.
know what I mean? So here's the funny thing about, because I go to guys' event all the time,
Mhm.
and they'll have 4, 5, 6, maybe 10 D1 schools, and people are like, wow, there's a lot of D1 schools. Man, if we have less than 30, we feel like we failed. You know what I mean? So that's how the love has continued. And so we've had the alumni in this tournament. So as I said, we've had 3 players that have played in the WNBA, as I said, including Bridget, Aaliyah, has played as well when she was at Crestwood, and
Mm,
Marlo and the job that he's done over there.
phenomenal job.
You know what I
Phenomenal.
mean? Amazing. And to see one of our own from our own community doing things the right way.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, Edwards played in it. You know what I mean? And then, we've had Licia playing it. She played at King's Christian as well, too. She plays for the Atlanta Dream as well, too.
Yeah.
We've had over 600 kids that every year compete in it. Like this year we have 48 teams,
Sheesh.
Yeah.
that's in the tournament. And we have teams from Quebec, we have teams from Ontario, Calgary, we have teams from coming out from the East.
Mhm.
And then this year we have teams from the US, we've got teams coming from Europe.
Mm,
And then we tried to get Seed Academy out of Senegal. Didn't work out this year, but they'll be there next year. We also have Bella Vista, you know what I
yeah.
mean? We're down where Mike and those guys are in Arizona. They'll be
Uh-huh.
coming next year.
Nice.
And so we already have over 60 D1 schools confirmed. You know
Sheesh.
what I mean? And it just continues to grow. So the pride of our tournament is our volunteers.
Mm,
We have over 50 volunteers. And what's great about it, so I had Brianna Thomas that played in the tournament. She's now coaching at Brown University.
oh,
And to
nice.
see her come back, Chanel coaches at York University, to see her come back. Leanna
That's
is now
sick.
coaching at Royal Crown, to see her
Her
come
come
back.
back. Yeah.
And a lot of these. So a lot of the players that have played in the event 17 years ago are on the volunteer staff and they're helping out.
There you go.
You
That's
know what I
tough.
mean? So for me, nothing makes me feel better than, because it's about community
Mhm.
at the end of the day, celebrating. For us, it's like Christmas when it comes around.
Right,
You know what I
Yeah.
mean? It's like Christmas because everybody comes out,
Right.
everybody helps out, and that makes me feel proud that, to attach my name to something, and to feel proud to see all these young ladies. And as I said, so our motto this year, so what's going to be on the back of our shirts is supporting girls basketball before it became a trend. You know what I mean? So I
Love that.
love where girls basketball is now, but there was never anything wrong with girls basketball.
right.
And I've heard some nonsense in the past, like, let's lower the rims because we
Mhm.
want to see them dunk. Like,
Yeah.
let them wear volleyball shorts. You know what I mean? And I'm
Right.
thinking, like, there's such a disrespect
Yeah, that's
to
crazy.
women hoop. And everybody that's been watching the WNBA reminds me of the NBA in the 90s.
Mm,
Aggressive,
physical.
physical,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
you know what I mean? And now people are seeing, and as I said, with Caitlin Clark, she brought a lot of eyes. As I say, she can bend a spoon. She's Neo in the Matrix. But
Mm,
what people realize, people have been doing this before her.
yes.
There's so much others. So I like the eyes that are now not only WNBA, but for the first time last year in history, the girls NCAA drew more
We're talking
I was
attention and
in.
eyes
I was
Yeah.
tuned in.
even on the guys'
I
game.
was tuned
You
in.
know what I mean? And so it's kind of like when I hear guys like Stephen A. Smith, Shannon Sharp, and all these guys now are watching girls basketball.
Yeah.
Right.
Years ago, I remember Jim Rome, Rome is Burning. He said a good grade 8 boys team can beat the WNBA by 40.
He's
You
just
know what
talk.
I mean? And so
He's just saying anything.
those kind of disrespect. So I'm ecstatic, and for all the young ladies coming up,
Yeah.
we had like 6,000 people at the tournament last year.
Mm,
So all the young ladies that are coming up that's going to be a part of this, there's a platform for you
Yup.
to be proud. And then some of the people like Shanisa started Prep for Success. Dakota is now the executive director for the Pascal Siakam Foundation.
mhm.
I said Brianna's coaching, Wumi's doing her thing. To see that beyond even basketball, young ladies can aspire to be so much more in this space. So when I see that, man, like it makes me proud. A few years ago, Canadian Tire Jumpstart, so with Advantage Basketball, we were their basketball arm, and they had a big event, over 1,000 people in attendance, and they asked me to be the keynote speaker to
Mm,
speak to women's basketball, because I've done a lot in the space. And what I told them, I said, listen, as much as I'm honored, I got Lauren Griffith that played for me as a young lady to do that
Right.
yeah.
because
She was D1 too. Lauren
D1,
Griffin. Yeah.
correct. Because representation in this space, she went up there, she killed it to the point that the CEO of Canadian Tire offered her a job on the spot.
Wow.
You know what I mean? So
That's what's
not
up.
only do we do this, but representation for
Yeah.
girls in the space
Yes.
is incredibly important. And
Mm,
we've got to celebrate. You know, I wanted to get to a point where we don't want people to talk about this is just girls basketball. It's basketball at
Basketball
the
at the
end
end
of
of
the
the
day.
day, man.
You
got
know what
you.
I mean? I was on Sportsnet one time and they were talking about what it meant to be a black father. It was Black History Month, they did it.
Mm.
And I said, listen, I'm just a father.
Right,
At
right.
the end of the day, so when it comes to basketball, I want it to just be basketball. You know what I mean? Where people play basketball. And once we can get to that point, then we've
Mm,
done our job.
got you. So I got two questions with this because you said something very interesting with the NOC when they were playing at Eastern and Kareem and those guys, right?
Mhm.
So how do you view it from it being high school now to prep school? You know,
Yeah.
how's the basketball? That when
I
you
think
said
the
that
only difference is the
that
shot clock, man.
that tripped me
Really
out.
and
Like
truly, man.
you've
This
been doing it
is
for a long time when
Yeah.
you was like Eastern and then
yeah.
now you got all these prep schools. What is your thoughts? What
Man, and we talk about stuff like this all the time. So high school back in the day, I remember playing against Ronnie Williams. We were at West Hill,
mm,
you know, Javal and these guys. We were playing against Ronnie Williams and those guys. So at the time, nobody was going down to the US.
Right.
So when you won the OFSA championship,
That was huge.
oh, that meant something because you're
yeah.
playing against
Man,
the best.
Right.
You see what I'm trying to say? And now everything has become prep. So I think what prep schools have done, and I really think they stole the model from soccer academies. So soccer academies came out with the philosophy that join the academy, you practice 5 to 6 times a week.
Mhm.
It doesn't necessarily even matter your level. So we've put you into that environment, you're doing it every day.
Mm,
So the prep schools that are serious about ball, that is not just financial, that's the model that they took on. You know, let's do prep schools so that kids can be in this, get more ball, more training.
It's more specialized.
Correct. So personally, you know, if you ask me the old high school setting, how things were, I loved. I
mm,
didn't like the politics of OFSA.
Mhm.
I didn't like penalizing kids for leaving one school and going to
Transferring.
the other
Right.
when coaches can do that without issues. So the transfer rule has always bothered me. I thought it was silly.
Right.
You know what I mean? I remember, and again, going back to Rowan Barrett, going back to Ducky, he left West Hill, you know what I mean, went to another school and then tried to come back and play. And officer said, absolutely not.
mm,
And his mom got lawyers,
wow,
and the lawyers said, you can play. And he played, you know,
wow.
and so I liked the old high school, but I didn't like what officer did with the transfer rules, you
Mm,
know. So I look at the difference now. If you kept all our kids in Canada and played, high school kicked,
Right.
you know. But what I do like about prep school is the training. And I
mm,
find that coaches are improved. When, as I said, when Shep was at Michigan, Tommy Amaker had a coaching clinic one year. And I had lunch with Tommy Amaker, and I had lunch with they say the greatest teacher in the history of basketball ever. My memory just eludes me now. But we had lunch together, and I remember them talking and saying the issue with Canada, QB Brown, the great
got
Brown.
QB
you.
Brown.
Yeah, yeah.
So
Legendary.
he said the difference between the US and Canada is that the US had more teachers of the game.
Mm,
And so at the time, I see that we've improved a lot.
Mhm.
And there's a lot of men and women in this space that are great teachers of the game now. So the guys that are doing prep school, a lot of these kids are benefiting from the ones that are doing it right. You
mhm.
know, with everything we do, the good and the bad is the financial piece, you know, that
It's expensive, man.
oh God, is it ever
Oh my
expensive? You know
goodness,
what I
bro.
mean? And
It's
so
expensive.
I feel bad with a lot of parents
Yeah.
because now you have to pay so much, you
Right.
know, for this. And it's good. I was telling Corey, him interest in making it was good and bad. You know, it's just like in hip hop, with Drake making it was good and bad because now everybody's a rapper. And in
Mm,
the basketball space, everybody thinks they're going to the NBA. You can't make your high school team. You don't get playing time on your high school team, but you think you're going to the NBA. So
Right.
that's the other side, is that we're selling these dreams,
Yeah.
but we got to keep it realistic.
right.
Gotta
Yeah.
keep it realistic. I think the price point, like you said, is crazy.
Absolutely.
And like how do you tell a parent, come to our school, but you gotta be realistic with them. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because they may end up staying in Canada.
Correct.
You know what I mean? But a lot of the parents with that whole dream piece,
Yeah.
they're thinking their child is gonna go.
I see it's a thin line between not killing a kid's dream and being realistic.
Yeah.
And so we sit parents down. So I normally have a 2-hour interview with a parent and a child before we even accept them at our school. In 2 hours, 15 to 20 minutes is basketball. We talk basketball.
Mhm.
Character and academics takes up most of the time. You
Mhm.
know, and I will not lie to parents or lie to kids. We talk about expectation. You know, I always used to say, and I told them, Shakespeare said that expectation is the reason for all disappointments, you know, and all heartaches. And then a friend of mine said, "How do you know Shakespeare said it?" So I said, "All right, we'll leave that alone." But what we talk about a lot is managing expectations. And so when we sit them down, I said, one, we never guarantee playing time, not even a second. We don't guarantee playing time. What we guarantee that you're going to be trained, you're going to be mentored, you're going to get opportunities. No play, and we're not a university, so I can't promise you a scholarship. So we
Mm.
start there.
Right.
You know what I mean? So I think it's important with being real and
Yes.
not lying to people, being honest. And at the end of the day, you know, they're going to appreciate your honesty. Or they'll get up and say, this is not what we're looking for. They'll move on and we're okay with that. But we believe in managing expectations.
Mm. So last thing with the tournament, like, so this is year 17. What could people look forward to, you know, with this new tournament now? Like for it to last 17 years, this is it got to be a great product for you to be able to do something for 17 years straight, right? So what could people look forward to in this tournament starting this weekend?
So we're going 4 days now. So with 48 teams, we can't do it over just the weekend. So
Right.
we're starting on Thursday, you know, October the 24th, and then we're going to the 27th. We're doing it at Durham College. So we're using OUIT, all three gyms,
Nice.
and Durham College. So again, 4 courts we're having. And so when teams are coming in, as I said, they'll be greeted by our volunteers. This year, for the first time, and again, when we're in Senegal, and we've partnered with different academies across Africa. So we're doing a fundraising piece. So we're selling T-shirts this year with
Mm.
proceeds going to help kids in Africa.
Wow.
So right now we have a few girls that we're paying for to go to school in Africa. You know what I mean? Because their parents just can't afford it. When we were over there, YC and I, we went to courts, had no lines, rims were broken. And so we've been sending money over for them to fix courts, fix rims, giving kids opportunity. So when you come out to the tournament this year, not only are you going to be supporting basketball on this end, but even across the pond,
Wow.
you know,
Mm.
you're going to be supporting kids that are coming up, you know, and when you get to the tournament, again, you'll be playing in front of, you know, maybe 80 coaches, you know, college coaches. And what I always say is you become a big fish almost in a small pond, so to speak.
Mm.
You know what I mean? Because all these coaches, they said that we're probably the third biggest event in all of North America in terms of girls' high school tournament. You know, AU events might be different, but in terms of high school tournament, we're top 3.
Top 3.
You know, so you're coming out with a whole bunch of eyes on you to give you opportunity. You're going to be playing up against the best in the entire country. Canada basketball is always there. So if you want opportunities to play there,
Mm.
top coaches are there. So you'll see a lot, you know, and on top of that, the alumni will be out. You know, alumni will be out to greet you, you know, and then, you know, you'll see people that compete in the WNBA now that played in the tournament where you are. So you put that all together. And then we're blessed this year to have you guys, Hip Hop Hoops,
Yes,
you know,
sir.
to be a part of it. And, you know, I've been trying to make this happen for a couple of
I
years.
know.
Yeah.
Last year we got this thing confused and we came on the wrong day,
Correct.
but we're
Yeah,
good this
man.
year.
And
We're
and
good
to be
this year.
honest, when I was telling our volunteers and our staff that you guys were coming out, everybody's excited.
Oh,
You know what I mean?
Hey.
Just because of what you guys have done in this space, this
mhm.
platform, and then, you know, you guys are one of the ones that's looking to give love to women's basketball.
Yeah.
And you know what that means to young girls coming up
Yes.
because there's a lot of young people, young women that follow Hip Hop Hoops.
Mm.
You know what I mean? To see you guys coming up and all the other media outlets, promoting women's basketball. So, man, this year is definitely going to be a vibe.
Yeah.
It's going to be amazing. And, we want everybody to come out, just experience it. And here's the funny thing about it. So we got guys coming out, we've got people. So I was up in Fort Erie, talking to Charles, the head coach out there. I was
Got
telling him,
you.
he's like, man, we're not missing this. We're coming out. I was even talking to Mike George. He's coming out to it. You know what I mean? And a lot of other people, we're always going to be promoting women's basketball.
Got you.
The more eyes we have on this, the
Better.
better it is for young girls to dream, aspire, and to be a part of that. So again, I want to thank you guys for even, being a part of that.
I remember when we first met, I know that was the message. Like, Iggy, you gotta show love to the girls now.
Correct.
And I was like, yo,
Yeah.
let's do it.
Yeah.
Yo, so
I mean, for me personally now, I got daughters of my own. I got 2 sons. One plays ball. Out of my 4 girls, I'm hoping, one could become a baller. So I'm getting
Mhm.
myself right. I'm coaching at Westview, our varsity girls team. You know what I mean? We 2-0 right now, you know what I
That's
mean?
amazing.
But yeah.
Let me ask you a question.
Yeah.
Coaching girls and coaching boys,
Yes.
what do you find the difference?
Less ego for sure. And they're easier to coach. They listen more.
Yeah.
You know what I
man,
mean? They're
they sure
sponges.
do.
You
Yeah.
throw a set their way.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? They catch on. I got to get better at articulating what I'm trying to get across.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But they're very patient and they listen.
Yeah.
Love my guys.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But you gotta drill a little bit more. And
Yeah.
they got more baggage, like in regards to ego and
Yeah.
pride and
Mhm.
you know what I mean? You gotta keep telling them and
Less
telling them.
complaining, man.
Yeah, they complain more. They
Like,
complain
less
a lot.
complaining.
Yeah.
Like,
But the girls now, if they don't understand something, they'll ask you.
that's
So you got to step your game up in
Yes.
regards to articulating it. But yeah, it's been it's a long journey for me because this is my first time actually coaching girls.
Yeah.
But so far 2-0. It feels better when you're winning.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I'm waiting for my first loss.
Yeah.
But
what you waiting for your loss for?
I want to learn from. I want to see how they're
Gotta
gonna
learn from
react.
the loss,
How
yeah.
they're gonna react to it. How I'm gonna react to it, and then moving forward in our next practice. But it's fun. It's
And
fun.
the funny thing about it, man, is like with girls ball, and I've been coaching both forever. With girls, the girls are loyal. They believe in what you're saying.
Yes.
You know what I mean? 1, 2, it's so weird because even with our society nowadays, so the girls work so much harder. They work hard, they don't complain. You know what I mean? And I'm not gonna make this about bashing guys because we have incredible guys as well. too.
Incredible.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? But again, just appreciating what girls ball does and where they're headed. You know what I mean? And having a chance to be a part of that history. I remember coaching Kalisha Keene, and Kalisha Keene is the best high school player I've ever coached, guys or girls.
Mm.
You know what I mean?
Wow.
And we used to go to Boo Williams to play. Referees, when their game is done, used to run over to our court. It's like watching Magic Johnson play. She just
I
killed
heard she
people.
was amazing.
Oh, she was
Yeah.
absolutely amazing.
Yeah.
And I remember she was being recruited one time by UConn. And Jack Eisen, who coached me at West Hill with Alex Beeson and these guys, like Jack had coached us, and he was a part of UConn staff.
Mm.
So I called him up. I saw him at Boo Williams. I said, what's going on with Cal? You guys offering? He says, listen, we're looking to offer this one kid. If she doesn't commit, then we're going to offer Kalisha. So I told him, I said, listen, you can mark my words. Whoever you're recruiting will never be what Kalisha is. And Kalisha played at Michigan State, ended up being Big Ten Player of the Year.
Yep.
And so the kid who Jack was talking about was some kid named Maya Moore.
Oh God. That's my favorite player.
Right.
Correct.
That's my
Or
favorite
some
female
kid
player.
named Maya Moore, But as I said,
Oh, man.
and again, Kalisha will be at the tournament with her team. She's now a D1 coach.
Yes.
You know what I
Okay.
mean?
Yeah.
And so that's
Is she coaching at Michigan State now?
No,
Or is she head coach now?
No, she's assistant coach, but she's still doing it. And even her sister, Takima.
Yeah, Takima.
All right. They both coach D1. So
Yeah.
that's absolutely amazing. And again, shout out to her, and to all the other girls that have been up here doing their thing, again, long before this.
Yeah, I heard Kalisha was.
Oh, my God.
man, I heard she was a problem.
Kalisha, so I coached Kalisha when she was 11, 10 or 11, 12. So we're playing against Jordan Henry's team. And Jordan Henry back in the day played at Mississauga. He was like 6'5" when he was 12 or whatever. So we're playing against his team. and Kalisha's playing against him, and she's killing their team to the point where his coach said, "Girls aren't supposed to be playing." You know what I mean? I said, "Really?
He's
I
he's
said, really? This is what
complaining.
you're saying?
He's
You
complaining.
know, this is what you're telling your young men?
Right.
You know what I mean?
It
So
starts with complaining once again, man.
correct,
Right?
correct.
That's
So you know,
wild.
so her, you know, and then we have Wumi. That's also going to be a determinant. Played in the tournament. She went to Duquesne, and she was A10 Player of the Year as well too.
Mm,
You know, so again, we've had our girls that have stepped up and are represented, doing their thing, and so again, these young ladies can come out, meet these guys. You
mhm.
know, Justina King.
Yeah.
So the funny story about it, Justina King and her mom was saying that they came to the tournament in like 2009. This is where my daughter Shanice played.
Right.
Shanice was the MVP, and Justina was young, and she said, "I want to be like her." When I
Yeah.
grew up, you know what I
Yeah,
mean. So
yeah.
when Shanice heard, she was overwhelmed, and
Right.
to see what Justina has done in her space,
Yep.
you know, and I went to watch them. They played under Advantage Basketball, the Hoop Queens. You know, shout out to Kisa and the
Yup.
Hoop Queens
Yes.
organization. Justina played in there, and they won the championship. Full circle moments over and
Mhm.
over
Over and
again,
over
man. And
again.
you
Yeah.
got to feel really proud, you know, that you were able to do that as well, you know, or to be a part of that.
Just
That's
expanding the
amazing.
basketball community, man,
I
with these
love
full
it.
circle moments,
Yeah.
I
man.
love it. Do you have anything for him
Oh no,
or?
no, man.
Okay.
Just keep building, man. And hopefully, like I said, some of our girls from the Westview, Jane and Finch area would eventually
Mm,
get a chance to participate.
that
You
is
know what I mean?
facts.
Because we're working on a few.
Nah, and
Yeah.
see, and that's the thing. We always want to keep it going. And here's what we always do too. Like it's all about networking.
Yeah.
Mm,
You know what I mean? We all have to do a better job of understanding the power to network. You
Yes.
know, because I may know you and you may not have the answers, but you know somebody else that can
that
help
has
you.
it.
You know what
Exactly.
I mean? And so I don't care whether you're in the East or the West, we come together. And what I do is we're constantly on the phone with coaches, D1 coaches, NCAA coaches at all levels, youth sport coaches, and we'll say, hey, there's this kid we want you to go see. I don't
Just
care
like
if you
that.
play for my organization or not, it doesn't
Mm,
matter.
Right.
You know, if I know you're out there and you can play, we're going to push that.
that's one thing that I noticed from you though. You're always trying to put it together. We didn't know each other like that, and you still tried to, Iggy, you can do this, we can do that, we can do this. And I'm like, not a lot of people do that, right? They
Yeah.
have stuff they gatekeep. You're not
Yeah.
on that. You're just like, yo, we can do this, Iggy, I can do this for you. Never lied, straight up. So I respect that about you, man,
I
for sure.
appreciate it because, man, like, as I always say, there's a couple of things I find wrong with basketball. The old heads, a lot of them don't want the young guys to come up in this space and do anything. So they
Can't
do
do that.
gatekeep. And I don't even understand that because you have a chance to be a mentor and
Right.
to
Mhm.
see people grow, you know. And a few years ago, you know, again, going back to Marlo came to the event. You know, I watched him coach. Marlo has all this energy and passion, and he has that West End to him.
Let's
You know,
go.
and he's
Yup.
loud and he gets going. And I remember I pulled Marlo to a side and we were talking. I said, Marlo, listen, man, I love the way you're coaching. I love the energy. You need to tone down in this area. And then he's like, Coach, I really appreciate you taking the time out. And I said, I watch him, Tyrone Bramble, Javal Miles, Chris Francis, and these guys coming up, and I couldn't be more proud.
Right.
Then I've seen these guys grow, you know, and
Yes.
be something. So I'm really proud of that. And if we can all come together, you know, we're better together. We need each other,
Bottom
you
line.
Mhm.
know. But once we continue to implode,
Yeah.
you know, it hurts the bottom line, you know. And I was thinking, was like, as a people, like, I think this is where we've got to do better and we've got to support one another. I was talking to Lisa Washington, you
Shout
know,
out
Shout out
Lisa.
Lisa,
yeah, I was
man.
talking to Lisa because, as I said, I coach Dakota and Cameron. I coach her kids, and she was talking about you guys and how proud she is
Mm.
every time she watches you guys and how proud she is of what you guys are doing. Man, isn't that a better narrative?
Hell yeah.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah.
than to continue to, oh, this guy is this guy is that. So, to be honest with you, every time I hear negativity, I'm always going to try and turn around. I'm going to see the best in people, you know. And if we can't work together, it's cool. But I'm not going to be out there dogging people out. Like it's not good for us.
Straight
You know,
up.
if we continue to build one another up, we're
Mm,
better off.
Yeah.
facts.
I mean, they should take that motto in the Canadian hip hop world. We'll get to that, but I'm just saying,
Yeah.
man. In
But-
Toronto rap, they got to do the same.
No, you're facts. You're right. You're right. Let's talk about WNBA.
Let's
So,
go, man. The finals,
the
game
finals
5.
are here. What is your guys' thoughts on the finals so far? We got the last game,
I love it.
game 5 today. New York Liberty versus the Lynx. What is your thoughts so far?
Man,
Mm.
listen, I got WNBA League Pass this year. League Pass. So I have watched so many games,
Yeah.
and I'm so impressed with how the girls ball and just the level of competition, and I've watched Minnesota, obviously because of Bridget and all the others,
Mhm.
and I've watched Stewie and New York and what they've done. I
Rihanna.
wanted a game 5.
Had
Right,
You
to
know
be.
what I mean? I
Had to be.
wanted a game
Right.
5. I was like excited.
Yeah.
It's good basketball,
Oh
man.
my
It's
God. The
good
weird part
basketball.
about it, no matter where I am, and my wife knows, listen, I'm heading home.
Yeah.
No matter what I've cut meetings short
Right.
so I can watch a WNBA play.
Facts.
And side note, I was talking to one of my guys at Jadison this year. He's struggling as a point guard. And for the first time I told him, I said, listen, go watch Caitlin play.
Mm.
He goes, what? I said, go watch Caitlin Clark play. Now I'm telling guys, go watch WNBA players play. In terms of how they see the game,
Fundamentals.
you know what I
man.
mean? Fundamentals and, and all the other guards that are out there playing. So for tonight's game, man, it's so tough
Right.
to call because they've both won on each other's
Right.
home floor. There's a part of me that wants to see Bridget as a Canadian,
Right. Right.
win that championship.
Uh-huh.
But New York has never won.
Right.
And what it
Mm.
means for the city and what it means for women's basketball because they're one of the biggest draws.
Yeah.
So, I'm conflicted on that. But the one thing I do know is that I'll be in front of my TV,
This is a fact.
cheering on both teams.
Right. Right.
And there's no confliction with me. Minnesota
Minnesota.
all day. Shout out Courtney Williams. I'm a fan.
Oh,
I
God.
seen Courtney
Her
Williams
pull-up game
from
is
game-
insane.
from game 1. I
Yep.
think it was the first possession of the game. She kind of, you get the high screen coming.
Yeah.
She kind of waved that off and went straight to the basket quickly.
She's a problem.
And I was like, yo, if you're doing that right now,
Yeah.
you got this game. No, no one can rock with you in this
Taylor
game.
McBride is nice
And she's bad, bro. She
Mhm.
is tough off the bounce. Her grittiness, man. I was telling some of my guys, yo, that's hurt right there. Watch, just
This
watch
is
how
it.
watch how she's approaching this game.
You know what? New York, they should have won the series already.
I don't think so. I
Yo,
feel like
She dropped the ball. Stewie,
yeah, that's true.
she missed the free throw to
Couple
win the
times.
game.
That's
Yeah,
true.
yeah.
Like,
But
they
I
should have
think
been
it was
up.
game 3. Minnesota was up by like what, 12?
Yeah.
They had a double-digit lead and they blew it.
Right.
You know what I mean? So Minnesota, you could say the
It's
same for Minnesota.
It's an even balance when it the
Here's
teams.
the weird thing you mentioned, Stewie, because she's so good
Yeah,
and she's one of the only players. She won 4 NCAA championships.
that's
so
just
she's a
crazy.
winner. And then she missed the foul shot.
Yeah,
And then I looked at my wife and I said, pressure bust pipes.
it does.
Because at the end of the day, this is the beauty of
Yeah,
sports.
like how much seconds was on the clock? Like when she missed, like
Yeah.
it was. They went to overtime and they lost in overtime.
Correct.
If she
You know.
makes that free throw, they win the game.
And I'm sure it haunts her,
Oh my god.
because they could have won the game. The streak could have been over. But, it's with saying, with Minnesota, they're such a veteran team. They're never
Kayla
out.
McBride,
Never
she's
out,
so
man.
They're
good.
never
Never out.
out. Collier, they're never
No.
out.
Facts.
You know what
And
I mean? They-
everybody knows their role, man.
they're-
Everybody knows their role.
Correct.
But on the Liberty, I think her name is Jonquel Jones. If she can balance out her attack, I think last game she fell in love with the jumper. She was hitting it. Don't get it twisted.
Mhm.
But if she can balance out that attack, then Liberty has the chance, and Sabrina's there. She's
Sabrina
always
gotta-
good.
Sabrina
She's
gotta
good
shoot
for that
better.
one dagger. She's good for the one dagger
No,
still.
Sabrina has to
but
shoot better.
we'll
She's not
see.
shooting. She's not
We'll
shooting
see,
the ball
man.
great.
And
She gotta shoot better.
sometimes you fall in love with the 3.
Yes.
Yeah.
Sometimes
the
you
deep
fall
3.
in love with the 3 and it's the kiss of death.
Mhm.
Sometimes you got to take, and she's so well-rounded. What she's been doing, she was disappearing in the 4th quarter.
Yes.
Mm.
And
She did
and
hit
she's-
that buzzer beater to win the game, but I
yeah.
hear what you're saying.
Yeah,
Yeah,
she
she-
was
you
shooting
know,
it not that
in
good.
that
though.
game, she was crazy.
Yeah.
Logo 3.
Yeah.
In that game, she was crazy, but
Crazy.
she's got to be there in the 4th.
Right.
You know what I
Yep,
mean? But as I,
I
said,
agree.
it's going to be a game. If I had to place money on it, I don't know.
Minnesota.
I mean?
Can
Let's
we get
go.
a pick? I'll go with New
I'm
York.
going with Minnesota. Watch, man.
Minnesota, give us one.
Minnesota's
Give us.
taking it, man.
I'm gonna go with New York. I'm gonna go with they like you said they've never won before. So
Yo,
I'm
See-
gonna go with the
Bridget, I
Liberty.
got you, yo.
Yeah,
You're
it's
taking,
I
hard
you're
hate
for me.
bringing,
going against. I
you're
hate going
bringing
against
the
the
chip
Canadian.
back to the
Yeah,
six.
yeah,
I
Let's
hate
yeah.
going
go.
against the Canadian, but
I can't go against a Canadian Bridget Carlton tournament alum.
Come
You know
on
what
now.
I mean?
No, no, you
Tournament
can't. You
alum.
can't. You
I'm
It's
can't.
only
definitely
fair.
gotta go.
Yo, you
It's
can't.
only
You
fair,
can't.
man.
I'd be
Yeah.
out of line.
No,
You
no,
know
for
what I
sure,
mean?
for
I'd
sure,
be out
for
of line
sure.
if I
Okay,
did.
okay. All right, moving. So I want to talk about Kawhi Leonard. We're gonna get to some men's hoop real
Yeah.
quick. Kawhi Leonard, he's already hurt. He's not gonna start the
Oh.
season. What is you guys' thoughts with Kawhi Leonard? The Clippers. Did the Clippers make a mistake by keeping and paying Kawhi, or should they have used that money to pay Paul George? I'll start with you first.
The NBA is one of those leagues that pay people on potential. You know what I
Yes,
mean?
this
Like
is
they
facts.
they definitely do that. And so for me, with the owner having so much money and Kawhi being who he is, they almost had to pay Kawhi because they're hoping that they're going to use Kawhi to also bring other people, to the team. And then you ask, who else are you going to bring in that space? Again, I personally think if Kawhi would have stayed with the
Tell
Raptors,
him again.
if Kawhi would have
Tell 'em
stayed with the
again.
Raptors, it could have been a little different. And where I feel bad for athletes, to be honest, is when it comes to injury.
Mm-hmm.
Like I feel bad for athletes. I don't know Kawhi well enough to say whether he should be playing through or whatever.
Right.
But if it's up to me, I personally wouldn't have paid it.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's a lot of money. But I do understand. And now you lose Paul George,
Mhm.
and you're almost gone right back to what people always looked at the Clippers. You have a new arena.
Mm-hmm.
Who's your draw?
No draw.
Who's your main guy? So with Kawhi, I think we can agree now that injuries will probably never allow him to be where he once was.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? But, I wouldn't pay it personally, but I understand.
Yo. Lawrence Frank, you see what you did? Lawrence Frank, do you see what you did?
Call his name.
You came to our games. You
That was
came to
weird.
the six.
Yeah.
You hid. You violated all the violations in the
He
book.
came with the fake glasses
right?
and mustaches
The
in the
NBA
crowd.
knew it too. The NBA knew it too. The NBA didn't want to see us win at
Right.
one point. They didn't want to see the six bring in a chip, and we did. They didn't want to see another one.
Yeah.
They didn't want to see that back to back.
It would
We
have been
had
back to back.
we
I
had the
believe.
load management formula on Smash.
Yeah.
We had the perfect team. How
Mhm.
many games did we win without Kawhi? Without a training camp?
Mhm.
Yeah.
With load management in place? Lawrence Frank. And
We
you
had a
got
better record.
executive of the year that year too. I didn't understand how. He cheated. I'm
Yeah.
sorry. I'm not calling you a cheater. But
You're calling him a cheater.
okay, I'm calling him a cheater still. He
Yeah,
cheated.
stand
He
on it.
cheated,
Yeah.
man. I'm standing
It's
on that.
personal.
It is personal. It
It's
is personal.
personal.
So you got to eat this. Control, Alt, Delete.
Yeah,
You know what I
that's a
mean?
big
I'm happy
control,
for
man.
Bones. I'm happy for Norman Powell. I'm happy for Porter. They're gonna get a chance to show out. This is the opportunity we were talking about for Bones
Yes.
because we said, "Yo, just give him the right
He needs
situation.
it.
Give him the right situation." I hope Coach Lou is cool with him. You can't bury him on the bench now, Coach Lou. So let him rock. You know what I mean? And when you guys don't finish with the greatest record, right? And you think you're gonna go high up in the draft, you're gonna have to give that draft to OKC. Lawrence Frank, man. I'm telling you.
Yeah, they
Lawrence
can't-
Frank, that's
even
all I
if
gotta
they
say,
tank,
man.
that if they got the first pick of Scooper, that thing is going.
Let's go straight to OKC, man.
Yeah,
Wow.
it was a bad move. Kawhi was like Thanos, man. He had all the Infinity Stones. Like he had the NBA by his hands when he won that chip.
Yeah.
And he could, if he have just came back to the Raptors, the team was so well constructed. Like, we're gonna repeat.
Yep.
We're gonna repeat. We knew how to manage his body. If you want to say control, delete on
Hell
that.
yeah, Control,
But,
Alt, Delete. What?
The Raptors knew how to deal with him,
Yeah.
Correct.
right? And the team was so good where we were still able to compete at a high level without him. So it wasn't a drop off. Kawhi not playing right now, they got to rely on a 32-year-old James Harden,
Mhm.
which is not, he's not the same guy. He's
Not
not that same
close.
Houston Rockets James Harden where you can just throw in, two, bums with him and he can pull them to at least the playoffs.
Yeah.
Right. And, it's just not the same. So I think that was a bad move on Kawhi's part to leave the city.
Yeah.
And I know it probably haunts him to this day.
Hindsight being
Yeah.
2020, man.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure if he had to go revisit that again,
Yeah.
you'd stay in the six.
He's staying in the
Wouldn't
six.
listen to Lawrence Frank. Wouldn't listen to his
you
uncle.
You had everything.
stayed.
I'll tell you what's funny about this because I was talking to Damon Stoudemire, when I was down at Georgia Tech, and he said maybe the worst move of his career was leaving Toronto.
You see?
And I
Tell
said,
him
preach
again.
it. He said maybe because he said, man, the people embraced him in Toronto, and it's funny. He was saying to me, he goes, man, he said he asked one guy and I think it was Huggy. He said, take me to the bad areas in Toronto, man. And he goes, Huggy took me to this place called Jane and Finch. and then he said,
See, that's why we love you so much, Stoudemire. That's why we got love for you, baby.
I'm walking around Jane and Finch, meeting some of the nicest people I've met in my entire life,
Come on
man.
now.
There are a
Come
bunch of
on,
nice
man.
people over there. Huh?
People.
Come on,
But
man.
he said, going back to what we were saying, hindsight being 2020, I'm pretty sure Kawhi and his uncle are looking back
Take it
now,
back.
thinking I should have stayed.
Bottom
Mhm.
line.
Toronto's a great place, man.
Straight up.
Great place.
Yep.
Straight up.
So let's talk about Andre Drummond. This was a very interesting thing for me. He was on Run Your Race podcast, I
Shout out
believe.
Run Your Race, baby.
You know,
You already know.
and he said something about missing rebounds on purpose. And I don't know how to take this one here. Like he said basically when almost like, I don't know, I'm not saying Angel Reese does that, but
That's- I
when
was
you
just
put
gonna
it
say
up
that.
and you grab the rebound, he said he was missing like his open layups, like missing shots on purpose and grabbing to get his own rebound to stat pad or whatever you want to call it. What is your thoughts on that?
Man, some people in the NBA have a role, and their role is their role. I remember when they were interviewing Kevin Durant and they asked him about Dylan Brooks, and he was saying Dylan plays a role. And you've got to understand. So Drummond was never really necessarily a scorer like that, and his money is made, as they say, you get money from boards. And so he realizes that to pack his stats at the end of the day, it looks like 13 or 14 a game. That to him brings more value than scoring.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? So I watched Rodman play. And Rodman necessarily never did the same thing, perhaps, but he was in love. Even if he missed, getting that rebound back was more excited than scoring.
Mm-hmm.
So I think maybe from even a financial piece, for him, it looks better on his stats the more rebound he gets than even putting the ball back in the basket.
Got
So
you.
if that's his logics, you know what I mean, then maybe there's a method to that madness.
Mm-hmm.
I hope there's a method to the madness because you don't say stuff like that till you retire. Like you're many ways out of the game.
For
like
sure.
you know what? You're still you play for Philly right now, no?
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, brother, what are you doing?
Yeah.
Why would you say that? 'Cause so now when you miss, people are gonna be like, yo, he's missing on purpose, or like it's just
Yeah, you bring that attention.
you're bringing
to yourself
you're bringing that
where-
unwanted attention to
Yeah.
yourself. So
One of those things you say in your head.
Yeah, like, you don't say it out loud, bro.
Don't say it
You know what I
out
mean?
loud.
Yeah.
So yeah, shout out Run Your Race on getting him to say that and all that. But boy, it's not looking good for him because when you miss a shot, them easy. Remember, he had a lot of JaVale McGee moments
Mm.
the last maybe 2-3 seasons.
Yeah.
And now if you just compile those clips, boy,
Yeah.
it's not gonna be pretty next year, man. This season,
No,
it's
and,
not gonna
and
be
you're,
pretty.
you're gonna have people looking at you a ways, right? With that, like,
Are you a winner?
because I don't think he's personally a winner, but like he was a lottery pick, right?
was.
And I'm seeing over the years now, he's not an old guy,
No.
and his role in the NBA is just declining. Like I think a lot of teams could use him,
Why
a guy
not?
like him, because we think that he's a physical force down low and he can grab rebounds, right?
Mhm.
Not the greatest defender,
He's
but-
and he's mobile, pick and rolls.
yeah, but
like,
you would think a team would just be, yo, we need to get him, and he's gonna be like, okay, you have Anthony Davis and you have him, Anthony Davis, like, right,
Correct.
like
Correct.
a power forward who can score, and
Yeah.
then you have him who's gonna, rebound and defend, right?
right.
But I don't see teams chasing this guy. He's every single year he's getting like a 1-year minimum here.
But if you listen to that interview and you hear him say those words, then you're gonna think it's about you or is it about the team?
There you go.
Facts.
About
There
the
you go.
team, I'm not doing that.
Mhm.
If it's about me, if it's about my bag, if it's about my money, you know what I mean? Then
Yeah.
maybe I do that. But if it's about team, I'm not doing that. And I'm definitely not admitting to that. Yeah, for sure.
Straight
Yo,
up, man.
So let's move on to hip hop, man. We're gonna
Yeah.
talk some hip hop real quick.
Mhm.
This is the last. We're gonna talk about there was there was a tweet going around with Young Thug. You know, he's
Yes.
incarcerated right now, Young Thug, and
Free Young Thug, man.
the comment or these guys be tweeting from jail, everything. It don't, but he says Drake, Future, and Metro Boomin, we are all brothers. Music ain't the same without us. Without the collaboration, without us collaborating. That's what he
Right.
said. Without us collaborating. So you then had Future repost it.
Yup.
So, you know, we all seen this battle where, you know, I feel Drake was like ambushed by all of these guys, right? He says it's, you know, 20v1, right? Um, what is your thoughts of, you know, a guy like Future retweeting it?
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, now you see Metro Boomin in interviews where he's like, you know, I want all my collaborators. I appreciate all of them. I love all of them. It kind of seems like it's a backtracking thing
Yeah.
here.
I mean, you know, money slowing up. The industry itself is going through some kind of reconstruction, and a lot of music's not being put out.
Mm,
A lot of music's not sticking. Artists are getting more smarter. They're utilizing their personal platforms to release music.
right, right.
At the end of the day, when you don't got that Drake stimulus package, man, and not just the Drake stimulus package, I think Future, Young Thug, Drake, you know, even I gotta throw in Rick Ross. Like, you got guys that can just make good music together when they're collaborating.
Yeah.
And because they took that stance on the boy, like, it's, bro, like,
You think-
why? What was the point of doing that? Who
Would you-
really won?
Would you, if you were Drake, would you forgive these guys and start making music again with
Yes,
them?
I would. I'll be
would
putting
you?
I'll be putting in mad subliminals.
I know, but you're
Subliminals all
you're gonna
day.
work with them again.
Yes, I will.
What is-
Subliminals
what is your
all day
thoughts?
though.
See, to me, and not only Young Thug, but if you look, Cole did a song recently.
Right.
Yeah.
You
Which
know,
my man
where-
didn't appreciate. But
So
it's okay.
Cole did a song recently where it was along the same lines.
Right.
What people don't realize, big picture moment, you get into the industry for two reasons: to make money and to make hits. That's it. You know, anything that takes away from that is not good for business. You know, in mob movies, they say it's not good for business.
Yeah.
It's the same thing. And I think what people might be realizing is that if we come together and control this, we can make more money out of this,
Mhm.
build
Facts.
more of a legacy. I've said from day one, and even with the Drake and Kendrick, and people loved it, I thought it was bad for business. Now, as I was saying earlier,
Yep.
like, listen, there's a reason why the Rolling Stones tour at 70 and 80 years
Real
old.
talk,
Still
man.
selling
Because
out.
Still selling out. They haven't
Man, you
discredited
see the
themselves.
flab right here, bro. You see that? You
100%.
see all this?
They're,
I'm
they're
like,
up
bro,
there
what
in
are we
tight
doing?
jeans, skinny jeans
All
at
day.
70,
Yeah.
doing their thing. When if you look at the infighting, people discrediting one another. So I actually think, and again, people crucify J. Cole, and even his closest fans hated the way he handled the situation. You know, but I think at the end of the day, it also takes a man to say, listen, let's get back. Because you do realize, like, people could say whatever they want to say. Drake has been such a huge part of people making money and a lot of guys having their first hits or
Mhm.
selling the most through that.
Yeah.
You know,
He gave Future his first #1. He gave Rick Ross.
Cole,
Yeah.
Didn't Rick
you
Ross
know-
just get presented with a
He
plaque?
got his first 10 billion.
Yeah.
He streamed 10 billion.
But
this is what I'm
featuring
trying
who,
to
though?
say.
Mhm.
But to go back to your question, if I'm Drake, one, I'll still collaborate with you guys, but in my mind, it'll never be the same.
You get what I'm saying?
You see what I'm like? It won't be
Yes.
the same. For the business side, I may do it, but internally, I'm not sure it'll be the same.
Because
Subliminals all day.
because how me personally, I don't know if I was be able to work with a person knowing like you tried to ruin, like you tried to end my career.
Yeah.
Right. Drake his music hasn't stuck the same since this beef. If
Mhm.
we're gonna be honest here, right? And the music that he been dropping is pretty good. Some I don't really like you know, Wagwan Delay. I'm not a fan of that song.
Loved
But
it.
most of the other songs I enjoy, right?
Yeah.
And I think that, you know, this whole thing has put a little dent, you know, in his
It did,
armor
a little chink
where
in
the
the
music
armor.
is not
It's okay.
staying. So I don't know how I would be able to make music with Future again, and then have Metro Boomin there,
Right.
which he was probably the guy where how Drake felt like he was the one who started it.
Right.
Because if you look, Drake didn't want to diss Future.
No.
He didn't want to diss him.
I
He
think they're
just
still following each other
yeah,
too.
he just said, "I feel sick that we had to go through this." And then he said, you know, Lilo, well, I think it's Lilo Wayne, or I think that's Metro's name. I
Mhm.
think he started this whole thing. This guy has, if he was a rapper, he'd be dissing Drake. He has a whole instrument or a diss beat
Right.
with the
Well,
BBL Drizzy, right? So I just find I just
mhm.
find it so, I don't know if I'm Drake, I don't know if I can do this.
It's
I
not
understand
yeah.
what you Thug is saying, but man, I think Drake, keep home, man. Stay home with your guys here and start showing love
But
to
I
the artists
mean,
over
I
here.
think
The
even
Pressas and those guys. I say put those guys on.
from Young Thug's perspective, like he's sitting in court watching all his guys that he took care of, you know, a few of them at least, snitching on him. You know what I mean? So it's like he's probably putting everything into perspective. Like,
Probably so.
you know what I
Yeah.
mean? So maybe that's why it's, a tweet or a IG post came out like that. Like,
I'm just
yo,
surprised that Future reposted it. That's what I was surprised about. So with him reposting it, seems like he's trying to throw that
Olive
you know, that
Branch.
olive branch, like, hey,
Hey, you
Definitely.
never know.
let's get this thing
You
together
never
again.
know. It's fourth
Those
quarter right now,
those
so we'll
guys are on
see.
tour. They're not selling some of this. You know, they're getting canceled.
Some
Some
of
of
them
their
getting canceled,
concerts.
but
There's a reason why Drake was the artist of the decade, though.
fact though.
You know what I mean?
There's a
And people can talk about it. What I don't like is that people are in the moment. So all
Mm,
of a sudden, Drake has never made good music.
Right.
You know
right,
what I
right.
mean? He's killed it. He's carried hip hop for like a decade into the masses. You
Mhm.
know,
15
regardless
years to be exact. But anyway, who's counting?
regardless of the time. Like my son was saying to me, he was like in grade 6 or whatever. Drake has been the man until here. So again, don't act like, you know, you can say Kendrick won. I have no issues with you saying that.
No.
But all of a sudden, Drake doesn't make good music. And then he comes out with something like Delilah or Guan Delilah. But again, it's like tongue in cheek. It's like, you know what I mean? Messing around. Like,
Yeah,
He's a
don't
like,
go
troller.
at
Drake
people.
is a troller.
Oh,
He's a troll.
real
He
talk,
don't go at
trolls.
people talking they don't make good music anymore.
No,
Like, he still
man.
make good
But
music.
this is why I say, when I say Drake's only hated on the internet, because his streams show different.
right.
People are still, why is he every single month he's the most streamed artist?
Correct.
Like, there's a reason. We could talk
Facts.
about the old music, but you know, that's all I have, man. Bro, Smallins, I really, really appreciate you coming here.
Thank
This
you.
was amazing, man.
Thanks for
Yo,
having me,
great
guys.
conversation. I wish we can keep going, man. I
Yeah.
love the space right
I
now.
appreciate
it.
it, guys, man.
You
Really
know, but
appreciate it, guys.
any shout outs for you before we go? Any shout outs, man?
Just want to shout out everybody that's a part of this event. My family, my wife, you know, who stands by me all the time. Greatest in the business, you know, and everybody that makes this happen.
Nice.
Got you. Any shout outs, bro?
Hey man, I want to shout out John Kabongo, man. Dropped his second album
Mm,
October 4th. You know, I'm kind of late to the party with it, but still gotta show love to my man John
Absolutely.
Kabongo. Still Rich out on all social media platforms. Go cop it, go take a listen. On My Way is a banger. And he has a bunch of bangers, man. If you want to hear storytelling, mixed with some tough bars and just tough beats. Come on, man. John
I love
Kabongo,
John.
man. Let's go, man. And hey, just continue to show support on all our social media platforms. Follow, leave a comment, share, tell a friend to tell a friend, man. Shouting out the Box
Sponsors.
Brand. Gotta shout out the Box Brand
Yes,
event
we will
coming
be
up,
at the
man.
Box Brand this weekend.
The third annual Box Brand His and Hers event, Saturday, October 26th, 11:30 to 4:30 at Rec 44 in Markham. That's my man Andrew Nicholson's
Andrew
spot,
Nicholson's
you know.
gym. Yes, sir.
And yeah, man.
And this Friday we'll be, you know, at the Chris Mullins tournament for sure.
Oh,
So
man, we
check
there,
us out
man.
there.
October 24th to the 27th, Durham College, come out. It's definitely going to be a vibe.
Yes,
go.
and we gotta shout out our sponsors before we go. Pizza Ish and
Yes.
Ashay Juicery.
Ashay.
Listen, get your food, get your healthy juices, man. Let's get it.
And we out.